supporter, senti faiblesse dans le cœur. Moi envie où je t'attendais, pour qu'à fixer moi dans fond Dieu, pour dire doudou pour l'amour, qui chita dans fond comme pour. Laissez-moi parler, laissez-moi dire ça me penser, m'pas ça supporter, senti faiblesse dans le cœur. Rencontré dans une fiesta, côté ni moi ni où t'es belle, belle. Cœur moi t'as pas tellement fort, moi t'es quoi t'as qu'à exploser. Quand j'ai ôté on la ton ciel, figure t'as fait place pour soleil, dit tes portraits en devant jour, côté lumière t'es toute couleur. Cœur moi t'as pas tellement fort, moi t'es quoi t'as qu'à exploser. L'amour doudou, tout ça c'est l'amour doudou. C'est l'essentiel, où t'es porté on l'arc-en-ciel. L'amour doudou, tout ça c'est l'amour doudou. C'est l'essentiel, où t'es porté on l'arc-en-ciel. Quand moi t'appelé des frémis, moi t'es fin quoi m't'a qu'à mourir.
Good morning.
Penser de où, parler de où. Joutan nous t'a imaginé, pour nous yon t'a pensé de l'autre. L'amour t'a va crier victoire. Non mi ton tien nous tous les deux. Cœur moi t'a pas tellement fort, moi t'es quoi t'a qu'à exploser. L'amour doudou, tout ça c'est l'amour doudou. C'est l'essentiel.
I always gotta wake y'all up. Okay. Good morning, Mars. Why stop? I have my door open. I woke up this morning and I just needed to open the doors and the windows. Excuse me. So I don't know what they're doing out there. Sounds like the air blower.
Tout ça c'est l'amour doudou. C'est l'essentiel, où t'es porté on l'arc-en-ciel. L'amour doudou, tout ça c'est l'amour doudou. C'est l'essentiel, où t'es porté on l'arc-en-ciel. L'amour doudou, tout ça c'est l'amour doudou.
I'm really tired this morning, y'all.
Où t'es porté on l'arc-en-ciel.
Y'all know what happened? So yesterday, I had ordered Chick-fil-A because I really wanted a large lemonade and some fries. And when it got, and I ordered a wrap and I used my points, they stole my points because I didn't get my wrap. So I had to call them, hey girl, hey, and ask for my points back. And they said it's going to be a couple days. I hate when people do that. Yeah, they're always like, I hate even when they do that with, when you order something and they take the money right away and to give it back, it takes 3 to 5 business days. What? Hey, Francesca. Right. Do they? That's good. I'm glad. Yeah, there's a lot of places like that around this place. I got maybe like a few more minutes in me before I start this, because I am tired.
Tell me when to say love me ginger.
Love me ginger, love me tender. Ginger, love me tender.
I need your loving, so fresh, so clean. Love me in and out, I'm feeling, and I'll be down now. Anytime you call me, I'll be down, because I love and I love and I love and I love you only, because I need and I need and I need and I need you more.
Thank you, Mars.
Yeah, you know I run and I run and I run and I run. Fly in the sky in the night. Hold me in your arms and your love and light. I'm on your wave right now. I'm on your wave right now. Yeah.
Good morning, Ngozi.
I'm on your vibe now. You got me on your side now. Yeah, I'm on your wave right now. Yeah. If not you, then I don't wanna know. I don't want no story. Day and night it's unconditional. Got me living softly. Yeah, yeah. Love me judge, yeah. Love me tender. You know you love turn me up like never. Anything you want and I'ma do whatever. Because I love and I love and I love and I love you only. Because I need and I need and I need and I need you more. Yeah, you know I run and I run and I run and I run. Fly in the sky in the night. Hold me in your arms and your love and your life. I'm on your wave right now. I'm on your wave right now. Yeah. I'm on your vibe now. You got me on your side now. Yeah, I'm on your wave right now. Yeah. Said love me judge, love me tender. 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 You my sugar, my honey, my tender lover. You my sugar, my honey, my tender lover. You are my sugar, my honey, my tender lover.
Hey, your favorite. Get Cushion here. Wake his ass up, please. Thank you for the heart, me. Love me, judge, love me tender.
Mais c'est bon Dieu for you. M'kon tout direm yo. M'kon tout ça m'fait yo. M'kon elem te vire do ba. Pas j'aime la l'autre blessé mon bras. M'kon elem te malade ou te là pour moi mais l'aime bon. Vire mon damali.
Okay.
So pas besoin parler, j'aime te le bon côté moi, mais l'offre est un de moi, chérie pardonnez-moi, toujours te traiter moi, ton roi. Mais c'est bon Dieu for you.
I got maybe like two more songs and we're gonna
Mais c'est bon
start.
Dieu for you. C'est où qui passe moi, c'est où qui sent le monde qui comprend moi. C'est où c'est où font caille moi, où font meilleur madame ménage moi. Que le petit pas qu'on nous aime, y'a toujours sous vasin, y'a toujours à plaindre.
Hey Danny.
Est-ce que c'est vous n'yaurait, chérie demandez, si c'est vous n'yaurait, attendez. C'est où qui passe moi, c'est où qui sent le monde qui comprend moi. C'est où c'est où font caille moi, où font meilleur madame ménage moi. Y'a la qui va qu'on nous aime, y'a toujours sous vasin, y'a toujours à plaindre. Et avec mon, est-ce que c'est mon yoé, nous va faire un petit temps, est-ce que c'est mon yoé, attendez. Moi te fais erreur, ou n'y a moi tout secret. L'amour visite mieux, femme papa chita. C'est vrai l'amour te prend mon bloc, c'est fort. Et moi te me paraît tout, moi tout, moi comprends.
this song is done, I'm gonna just go ahead and start.
Merci Cristiano, mais toujours d'un crampon, moi dis c'est où lié. C'est où qui base moi, c'est où qui c'est le monde qui comprend moi. C'est où lié, c'est où font caille moi, où font des hommes madame ménage moi. Y'a là qui va connaître nous, y'a toujours souffert, y'a toujours appelé. Et avec mon, est-ce que c'est mon yoé, y'a pas le femme de titan, est-ce que c'est mon yoé. Pendant ce temps j'ai pi pas moun, ni pas moun, bim.
Wrong song, wrong thing. So.
Fait des garçons, moi j'étais contournable. Déjà dans ma terre, ma prière garde. Blow back, oh so bad. Dès que t'as oublié, j'en so bad. Fait des garçons, moi j'étais contournable. So bad. Pendant ce temps, j'ai pis pas moun, ni pas moun.
Why is starting over? It better not start over.
Chapter 8.
Oh, okay.
Okonkwo did not taste any food for 2 days after the death of Ikemefuna. He drank palm wine from morning till night, and his eyes were red and fierce, like the eyes of a rat when it was caught by the tail and dashed against the floor. He called his son, Nwoye, to sit with him in his obi, but the boy was afraid of him and slipped out of the hut as soon as he noticed him dozing. He did not sleep at night. He tried not to think about Ikemefuna, but the more he tried, the more he thought about him. Once he got up from bed and walked about his compound, but he was so weak that his legs could hardly carry him. He felt like a drunken giant walking with the limbs of a mosquito. Now and then, a cold shiver descended on his head and spread down his body. On the third day, he asked his second wife, Ekwefi, to roast plantains for him. She prepared it the way he liked, with slices of oil bean and fish. "You have not eaten for 2 days," said his daughter, Ezinma, when she brought the food to him. "So you must finish this." She sat down and stretched her legs in front of her. Okonkwo ate the food absent-mindedly. She should have been a boy, he thought, as he looked at his 10-year-old daughter. He passed her a piece of fish. "Go and bring me some cold water," he said. Ezinma rushed out of the hut, chewing the fish, and soon returned with a bowl of cool water from the earthen pot in her mother's hut. Okonkwo took the bowl from her and gulped the water down. He ate a few more pieces of plantain and pushed the dish aside. "Bring me my bag?" he asked. And Ezinma brought his goatskin bag from the far end of the hut. He searched in it for his snuff bottle. It was a deep bag and took almost the whole length of his arm. It contained other things apart from his snuff bottle. There was a drinking horn in it, and also a drinking gourd, and they knocked against each other as he searched. When he brought out the snuff bottle, he tapped it a few times against his kneecap before taking out some snuff on the palm of his left hand. Then he remembered that he had not taken out his snuff spoon. He searched his bag again and brought out a small, flat, ivory spoon, with which he carried the brown snuff to his nostrils. Ezinma took the dish in one hand and the empty water bowl in the other and went back to her mother's hut. She should have been a boy, Okonkwo said to himself again. His mind went back to Ikemefuna, and he shivered. If only he could find some work to do, he would be able to forget. But it was the season of rest between the harvest and the next planting season. The only work that men did at this time was covering the walls of their compound with new palm fronds. And Okonkwo had already done that. He had finished it on the very day the locusts came, when he had worked on one side of the wall, and Ikemefuna and Nwoye on the other. When did you become a shivering old woman? Okonkwo asked himself. You, who are known in all the 9 villages for your valor in war. How can a man who has killed 5 men in battle fall to pieces because he has added a boy to their number? Okonkwo, you have become a woman indeed. He sprang to his feet, hung his goatskin bag on his shoulder, and went to visit his friend, Obierika. Obierika was sitting outside, under the shade of an orange tree, making thatches from leaves of the raffia palm. He exchanged greetings with Okonkwo and led the way into his obi. I was coming over to see you as soon as I finished the thatch, he said, rubbing off the grains of sand that clung to his thighs. Is it well? Okonkwo asked. Yes, replied Obierika. My daughter's suitor is coming today, and I hope he will clinch the matter of the bride price. I want you to be there. Just then, Obierika's son, Maduka, came into the obi from outside, greeted Okonkwo, and turned towards the compound. Come and shake hands with me, Okonkwo said to the lad. Your wrestling the other day gave me much happiness. The boy smiled, shook hands with Okonkwo, and went into the compound. He will do great things, Okonkwo said. If I had a son like him, I should be happy. I am worried about Nwoye. A bowl of pounded yams can throw him in a wrestling match. His 2 younger brothers are more promising. But I can tell you, Obierika, that my children do not resemble me. Where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana tree dies? If Ezinma had been a boy, I would have been happier. She has the right spirit. You worry yourself for nothing, said Obierika. The children are still very young. Nwoye is old enough to impregnate a woman. At his age, I was already fending for myself. No, my friend, he is not too young. A chick that will grow into a cock can be spotted the very day it hatches. I have done my best to make Nwoye grow into a man, but there is too much of his mother in him.
Oh, wow.
Too much of his grandfather, Obierika thought, but he did not say it. The same thought also came to Okonkwo's mind, but he had long learned how to lay that ghost. Whenever the thought of his father's weakness and failure troubled him, he expelled it by thinking about his own strength and success, and so he did now. His mind went to his latest show of manliness. I cannot understand why you refused to come with us to kill that boy, he asked Obierika. Because I did not want to, Obierika replied sharply. I had something better to do. You sound as if you question the authority and the decision of the oracle, who said he should die. I do not. Why should I? But the oracle did not ask me to carry out its decision. But someone had to do it. If we were all afraid of blood, it would not be done. What do you think the oracle would do then? You know very well, Okonkwo, that I am not afraid of blood. And if anyone tells you that I am, he is telling a lie. And let me tell you one thing, my friend. If I were you, I would have stayed at home. What you have done will not please the earth. It is the kind of action for which the goddess wipes out whole families. The earth cannot punish me for obeying her messenger, Okonkwo said. A child's fingers are not scalded by a piece of hot yam which its mother puts into its palm. That is true, Obierika agreed. But if the oracle said that my son should be killed, I would neither dispute it, nor be the one to do it. They would have gone on arguing, had Ofoedu not come in just then. It was clear from his twinkling eyes that he had important news, but it would be impolite to rush him. Obierika offered him a lobe of the kola nut he had broken with Okonkwo. Ofoedu ate slowly and talked about the locusts. When he finished his kola nut, he said, The things that happen these days are very strange. What has happened? Asked Okonkwo. Do you know Ogbuefi Ondulue? Ofoedu asked. Ogbuefi Ondulue, of Ire village, Okonkwo and Obierika said together. He died this morning, said Ofoedu. That is not strange. He was the oldest man in Ire, said Obierika. You are right, Ofoedu agreed. But you ought to ask why the drum has not beaten to tell Umofia of his death. Why? Asked Obierika and Okonkwo together. That is the strange part of it. You know his first wife, who walks with a stick? Yes. She is called Ozoemena. That is so, said Ofoedu. Ozoemena was, as you know, too old to attend Undulue during his illness. His younger wives did that. When he died this morning, one of these women went to Ozoemena's hut and told her. She rose from her mat, took her stick, and walked over to the Obi. She knelt on her knees and hands at the threshold and called her husband, who was laid on a mat. Ogbuefi, Ndulue, she called 3 times, and went back to her hut. When the youngest wife went to call her again to be present at the washing of the body, she found her lying on the mat, dead. That is very strange indeed, said Okonkwo. They will put off Undulue's funeral until his wife has been buried. That is why the drum has not been beaten to tell Umofia. It was always said that Undulue and Ozoemena had one mind, said Obierica. I remember when I was a young boy, there was a song about them. He could not do anything without telling her. I did not know that, said Okonkwo. I thought he was a strong man in his youth. He was indeed, said Ofoedu. Okonkwo shook his head doubtfully. He led Umofia to war in those days, said Obierica. Okonkwo was beginning to feel like his old self again. All that he required was something to occupy his mind. If he had killed Ikemefuna during the busy planting season, or harvesting, it would not have been so bad. His mind would have been centered on his work. Okonkwo was not a man of thought, but of action. But in absence of work, talking was the next best. Soon after Ofoedu left, Okonkwo took up his goatskin bag to go. I must go home to tap my palm trees for the afternoon, he said. Who taps your tall trees for you? Asked Obierica. Umezulike, replied Okonkwo. Sometimes I wish I had not taken the Ozo title, said Obierica. It wounds my heart to see these young men killing palm trees in the name of tapping. It is so indeed, Okonkwo agreed. But the law of the land must be obeyed. I don't know how we got that law, said Obierica. In many other clans, a man of title is not forbidden to climb the palm tree. Here, we say he cannot climb the tall tree, but he can tap the short one standing on the ground. It is like Dimaragana, who would not lend his knife for cutting up dog meat because the dog was taboo to him, but offered to use his teeth. I think it is good that our clan holds the Ozo title in high esteem, said Okonkwo. In those other clans you speak of, Ozo is so low that every beggar takes it. I was only speaking in jest, said Obierica. In Abame and Aninta, the title is worth less than 2 cowries. Every man wears the thread of title on his ankle, and does not lose it even if he steals. They have indeed soiled the name of Ozo, said Okonkwo as he rose to go. It will not be very long now before my in-laws come, said Obierica. I shall return very soon, said Okonkwo, looking at the position of the sun. There were 7 men in Obierica's hut when Okonkwo returned. The suitor was a young man of about 25, and with him were his father and uncle. On Obierica's side were his 2 elder brothers, and Maduka, his 16-year-old son. Ask Akweke's mother to send us some kola nuts, said Obierica to his son. Maduka vanished into the compound like lightning. The conversation at once centered on him, and everybody agreed that he was as sharp as a razor. I sometimes think he is too sharp, said Obierica, somewhat indulgently. He hardly ever walks. He's always in a hurry. If you are sending him on an errand, he flies away before he has heard half of the message. You were very much like that yourself, said his eldest brother. As our people say, when mother cow is chewing grass, its young ones watch its mouth. Maduka has been watching your mouth. As he was speaking, the boy returned, followed by Akweke, his half-sister, carrying a wooden dish with 3 kola nuts and alligator pepper. She gave the dish to her father's eldest brother, and then shook hands very shyly with her suitor and his relatives. She was about 16, and just ripe for marriage. Her suitor and his relatives surveyed her young body with expert eyes, as if to assure themselves that she was beautiful and ripe. She wore a coiffure which was done up into a crest in the middle of the head. Camwood was rubbed lightly into her skin, and all over her body were black patterns drawn with uli. She wore a black necklace, which hung down in 3 coils just above her full, succulent breasts. On her arms were red and yellow bangles, and on her waist 4 or 5 rows of jigida, or waist beads. When she had shaken hands, or rather, held out her hand to be shaken, she returned to her mother's hut to help with the cooking. "Remove your jigida first," her mother warned, as she moved near the fireplace to bring the pestle resting against the wall. "Every day I tell you that jigida and fire are not friends, but you will never hear. You grew your ears for decoration, not for hearing. One of these days, your jigida will catch fire on your waist, and then you will know." Akweke moved to the other end of the hut and began to remove the waist beads. It had to be done slowly and carefully, taking each string separately, else it would break, and the 1,000 tiny rings would have to be strung together again. She rubbed each string downwards with her palms until it passed the buttocks and slipped down to the floor around her feet. The men in the obi had already begun to drink the palm wine which Akweke's suitor had brought. It was a very good wine, and powerful, for in spite of the palm fruit hung across the mouth of the pot to restrain the lively liquor, white foam rose and spilled over. "That wine is the work of a good tapper," said Okonkwo. The young suitor, whose name was Ibe, smiled broadly and said to his father, "Do you hear that?" He then said to the others, "He will never admit that I am a good tapper." "He tapped 3 of my best palm trees to death," said his father, Ukegbu. "That was about 5 years ago," said Ibe, who had begun to pour out the wine, "before I learned how to tap." He filled the first horn and gave to his father. Then he poured out for the others. Okonkwo brought out his big horn from the goatskin bag, blew into it to remove any dust that might be there, and gave it to Ibe to fill. As the men drank, they talked about everything except the thing for which they had gathered. It was only after the pot had been emptied that the suitor's father cleared his voice and announced the object of their visit. Obierica then presented to him a small bundle of short broomsticks. Ukegbu counted them. "They are 30? he asked. Obierica nodded in agreement. "We are at last getting somewhere," Ukegbu said, and then turning to his brother and his son, he said, "Let us go out and whisper together." The 3 rose and went outside. When they returned, Ukegbu handed the bundle of sticks to Obierica. He counted them. Instead of 30, there were now only 15. He passed them over to his eldest brother, Machi, who also counted them and said, "We had not thought to go below 30, but as the dog said, if I fall down for you and you fall down for me, it is play. Marriage should be a play and not a fight. So we are falling down again." He then added 10 sticks to the 15 and gave the bundle to Okegbu. In this way, Akweke's bride price was finally settled at 20 bags of cowries. It was already dusk when the 2 parties came to this agreement. "Go and tell Akweke's mother that we have finished," Obierica said to his son, Maduka. Almost immediately, the women came in with a big bowl of fufu. Obierica's second wife followed with a pot of soup, and Maduka brought in a pot of palm wine. As the men ate and drank palm wine, they talked about the customs of their neighbors. "It was only this morning," said Obierica, "that Okonkwo and I were talking about Abame and Aninta, where titled men climb trees and pound fufu for their wives. All their customs are upside down. They do not decide bride price as we do with sticks. They haggle and bargain as if they were buying a goat or a cow in the market." "That is very bad," said Obierica's eldest brother. "But what is good in one place is bad in another place. In Umunso, they do not bargain at all, not even with broomsticks. The suitor just goes on bringing bags of cowries until his in-laws tell him to stop. It is a bad custom, because it always leads to a quarrel." "The world is large," said Okonkwo. "I've even heard that in some tribes, a man's children belong to his wife and her family." "That cannot be," said Machi. "You might as well say that the woman lies on top of the man when they are making the children." "It is like the story of white men who, they say, are white like this piece of chalk," said Obierica. He held up a piece of chalk, which every man kept in his obi, and with which his guests drew lines on the floor before they ate kola nuts. "And these white men, they say, have no toes." And have you never seen them? Asked Machi. Have you? Asked Obierica. One of them passes here frequently, said Machi. His name is Amadi. Those who knew Amadi laughed. He was a leper, and the polite name for leprosy was the white skin. Chapter 9. For the first time in 3 nights, Okonkwo slept. He woke up once in the middle of the night, and his mind went back to the past 3 days without making him feel uneasy. He began to wonder why he had felt uneasy at all. It was like a man wondering in broad daylight why a dream had appeared so terrible to him at night. He stretched himself and scratched his thigh where a mosquito had bitten him as he slept. Another one was wailing near his right ear. He slapped the ear and hoped he had killed it. Why did they always go for one's ears? When he was a child, his mother had told him a story about it. But it was as silly as all women's stories. Mosquito, she had said, had asked Ear to marry him, whereupon Ear fell on the floor in uncontrollable laughter. How much longer do you think you will live? She asked. You are already a skeleton. Mosquito went away humiliated, and any time he passed her way, he told Ear that he was still alive. Okonkwo turned on his side and went back to sleep. He was roused in the morning by someone banging on his door. Who is that? He growled. He knew it must be Akwefi. Of his 3 wives, Akwefi was the only one who would have the audacity to bang on his door.
Wow, the audacity.
Ezinma is dying, came her voice, and all the tragedy and sorrow of her life were packed in those words. Okonkwo sprang from his bed, pushed back the bolt on his door, and ran to Akwefi's hut. Ezinma lay shivering on a mat beside a huge fire that her mother had kept burning all night. It is Iba, said Okonkwo, as he took his machete and went into the bush to collect the leaves and grasses and barks of trees that went into making the medicine for Iba. Akwefi knelt beside the sick child, occasionally feeling with her palm the wet, burning forehead. Ezinma was an only child, and the center of her mother's world. Very often, it was Ezinma who decided what food her mother should prepare. Akwefi even gave her such delicacies as eggs, which children were rarely allowed to eat because such food tempted them to steal. One day, as Ezinma was eating an egg, Okonkwo had come in unexpectedly from his hut. He was greatly shocked and swore to beat Akwefi if she dared to give the child eggs again. But it was impossible to refuse Ezinma anything. After her father's rebuke, she developed an even keener appetite for eggs. And she enjoyed above all the secrecy in which she now ate them. Her mother always took her into their bedroom and shut the door. Ezinma did not call her mother Ne, like all children. She called her by her name, Akwefi, as her father and other grown-up people did. The relationship between them was not only that of mother and child. There was something in it like the companionship of equals, which was strengthened by such little conspiracies as eating eggs in the bedroom. Akwefi had suffered a good deal in her life. She had borne 10 children, and 9 of them had died in infancy, usually before the age of 3. As she buried one child after another, her sorrow gave way to despair, and then to grim resignation. The birth of her children, which should be a woman's crowning glory, became for Akwefi a mere physical agony devoid of promise. The naming ceremony after 7 market weeks became an empty ritual. Her deepening despair found expression in the names she gave her children. One of them was a pathetic cry. Onwumbiko, Death, I implore you. But Death took no notice. Onwumbiko died in his 15th month. The next child was a girl, Ozoemina. May it not happen again. She died in her 11th month, and 2 others after her. Akwefi then became defiant, and called her next child Onwuma. Death may please himself. And he did.
Wow.
After the death of Akwefi's second child, Okonkwo had gone to a medicine man, who was also a diviner, of the Offa oracle, to inquire what was amiss. This man told him that the child was an Ogbanje, one of those wicked children who, when they died, entered their mother's wombs to be born again. When your wife becomes pregnant again, he said, Let her not sleep in her hut. Let her go and stay with her people. In that way, she will elude her wicked tormentor and break its evil cycle of birth and death. Ekwefi did as she was asked. As soon as she became pregnant, she went to live with her old mother in another village. It was there that her third child was born and circumcised on the 8th day. She did not return to Okonkwo's compound until 3 days before the naming ceremony.
Merry Christmas.
The child was called Onwumbiko. Onwumbiko was not given proper burial when he died. Okonkwo had called in another medicine man who was famous in the clan for his great knowledge about Ogbanje children. His name was Okagwe Uyanwa. Okagwe was a very striking figure, tall, with a full beard and a bald head. He was light in complexion, and his eyes were red and fiery. He always gnashed his teeth as he listened to those who came to consult him. He asked Okonkwo a few questions about the dead child. All the neighbors and relations who had come to mourn gathered round them. On what market day was it born? He asked. Oye, replied Okonkwo. And it died this morning? Okonkwo said yes, and only then realized for the first time that the child had died on the same market day as it had been born. The neighbors and relations also saw the coincidence and said among themselves that it was very significant. Where do you sleep with your wife? In your obi or in her own hut? Asked the medicine man. In her hut. In future, call her into your obi. The medicine man then ordered that there should be no mourning for the dead child. He brought out a sharp razor from the goatskin bag slung from his left shoulder and began to mutilate the child. Then he took it away to bury in the evil forest, holding it by the ankle and dragging it on the ground behind him.
What the fuck?
After such treatment, it would think twice before coming again, unless it was one of the stubborn ones who returned, carrying the stamp of their mutilation, a missing finger, or perhaps a dark line where the medicine man's razor had cut them. By the time Onwumbiko died, Ekwefi had become a very bitter woman. Her husband's first wife had already had 3 sons, all strong and healthy. When she had borne her 3rd son in succession, Okonkwo had gathered a goat for her, as was the custom. Ekwefi had nothing but good wishes for her, but she had grown so bitter about her own chi that she could not rejoice with others over their good fortune. And so, on the day that Moye's mother celebrated the birth of her 3 sons with feasting and music, Ekwefi was the only person in the happy company who went about with a cloud on her brow. Her husband's wife took this for malevolence, as husbands' wives were wont to. How could she know that Ekwefi's bitterness did not flow outwards to others, but inwards, into her own soul? That she did not blame others for their good fortune, but her own evil chi, who denied her any. At last, Ezinma was born, and although ailing, she seemed determined to live. At first, Ekwefi accepted her, as she had accepted others, with listless resignation. But when she lived on to her 4th, 5th, and 6th years, love returned once more to her mother, and with love, anxiety. She determined to nurse her child to health, and she put all her being into it. She was rewarded by occasional spells of
La parler anglais. Which kids I'm doing Creole. It's a book club. Chaque matin nous lions un livre. So it's that what you call it? That's what we're listening to right now.
health, during which Ezinma bubbled with energy like fresh palm wine. At such times, she seemed beyond danger. But all of a sudden, she would go down again. Everybody knew she was an Ogbanje. These sudden bouts of sickness and health were typical of her kind, but she had lived so long that perhaps she had decided to stay. Some of them did become tired of their evil rounds of birth and death, or took pity on their mothers, and stayed. Ekwefi believed deep inside her that Ezinma had come to stay. She believed because it was that faith alone that gave her own life any kind of meaning. And this faith had been strengthened when a year or so ago a medicine man had dug up Ezinma's Iyi Uwa. Everyone knew then that she would live because her bond with the world of Ogbanje had been broken. Ekwefi was reassured. But such was her anxiety for her daughter that she could not rid herself completely of her fear. And although she believed that the Iyi Uwa which had been dug up was genuine, she could not ignore the fact that some really evil children sometimes misled people into digging up a specious one. But Ezinma's Iyi Uwa had looked real enough. It was a smooth pebble wrapped in a dirty rag. The man who dug it up was the same Okagbwe, who was famous in all the clan for his knowledge in these matters. Ezinma had not wanted to cooperate with him at first, but that was only to be expected. No Ogbanje would yield her secrets easily, and most of them never did because they died too young, before they could be asked questions. Where did you bury your Iyi Uwa? Okagbwe asked Ezinma. She was 9 then, and was just recovering from a serious illness. What is Iyi Uwa? She asked in return. You know what it is. You buried it in the ground somewhere, so that you can die and return again to torment your mother. Ezinma looked at her mother, whose eyes, sad and pleading, were fixed on her. Answer the question at once, roared Okonkwo, who stood beside her. All the family were there, and some of the neighbors too. Leave her to me, the medicine man told Okonkwo in a cool, confident voice. He turned again to Ezinma. Where did you bury your Iyi Uwa? Where they bury children, she replied, and the quiet spectators murmured to themselves. Come along then, and show me the spot, said the medicine man. The crowd set out with Ezinma leading the way, and Okagbwe following closely behind her. Okonkwo came next, and Ekwefe followed him. When she came to the main road, Ezinma turned left, as if she was going to the stream. But you said it was where they bury the children, asked the medicine man. No, said Ezinma, whose feeling of importance was manifest in her sprightly walk. She sometimes broke into a run, and stopped again suddenly. The crowd followed her silently. Women and children returning from the stream with pots of water on their heads wondered what was happening until they saw Okagbwe and guessed that it must be something to do with Ogbanje. They all knew Ekwefi and her daughter very well. When she got to the big Udala tree, Ezinma turned left into the bush, and the crowd followed her. Because of her size, she made her way through trees and creepers more quickly than her followers. The bush was alive with the tread of feet on dry leaves and sticks, and the moving aside of tree branches. Ezinma went deeper and deeper, and the crowd went with her. Then she suddenly turned round, and began to walk back to the road. Everybody stood to let her pass, and then filed after her. If you bring us all this way for nothing, I shall beat sense into you, Okonkwo threatened. I have told you to let her alone. I know how to deal with them, said Okagbwe.
Oh, merci. Thank
Ezinma
you.
led the way back to the road, looked left and right, and turned right. And so they arrived home again. Where did you bury your Iyi Uwa? Asked Okagbwe, when Ezinma finally stopped outside her father's obi. Okagbwe's voice was unchanged. It was quiet and confident. It is near that orange tree, Ezinma said. And why did you not say so, you wicked daughter of a Kalagoli? Okonkwo swore furiously. The medicine man ignored him. Come and show me the exact spot, he said quietly to Ezinma. It is here, she said, when they got to the tree. Point at the spot with your finger, said Okagbwe. It is here, said Ezinma, touching the ground with her finger. Okonkwo stood by, rumbling like thunder in the rainy season. Bring me a hoe, said Okagbwe. When Ekwefi brought the hoe, he had already put aside his goatskin bag and his big cloth, and was in his underwear, a long and thin strip of cloth, wound round the waist like a belt, and then passed between the legs, to be fastened to the belt behind. He immediately set to work digging a pit, where Ezinma had indicated. The neighbors sat around watching the pit becoming deeper and deeper. The dark topsoil soon gave way to the bright red earth, with which women scrubbed the floors and walls of huts. Okagbwe worked tirelessly, and in silence, his back shining with perspiration. Okonkwo stood by the pit. He asked Okagbwe to come up and rest while he took a hand. But Okagbwe said he was not tired yet. Ekwefi went into her hut to cook yams, Her husband had brought out more yams than usual, because the medicine man had to be fed. Ezinma went with her and helped in preparing the vegetables. "There is too much green vegetable," she said. "Don't you see the pot is full of yams?" Ekwefi asked. "And you know how leaves become smaller after cooking." "Yes," said Ezinma. "That was why the snake lizard killed his mother." "Very true," said Ekwefi. "He gave his mother 7 baskets of vegetables to cook, and in the end there were only 3. And so he killed her," said Ezinma. "That is not the end of the story." "Oh-ho," said Ezinma. "I remember now. He brought another 7 baskets and cooked them himself.
Thank you.
And there were again only 3. So he killed himself too."
Wow.
Outside the Obi, Okagwe and Okonkwo were digging the pit to find where Ezinma had buried her Iyi Uwa. Neighbors sat around watching. The pit was now so deep that they no longer saw the digger. They only saw the red earth he threw up, mounting higher and higher. Okonkwo's son, Nwoye, stood near the edge of the pit because he wanted to take in all that happened. Okagwe had again taken over the digging from Okonkwo. He worked, as usual, in silence. The neighbors and Okonkwo's wives were now talking. The children had lost interest and were playing. Suddenly, Okagwe sprang to the surface with the agility of a leopard.
Thank you.
"It is very near now," he said. "I have felt it." There was immediate excitement, and those who were sitting jumped to their feet. "Call your wife and child," he said to Okonkwo. But Ekwefi and Ezinma had heard the noise and run out to see what it was. Okagwe went back into the pit, which was now surrounded by spectators. After a few more hoefuls of earth, he struck the Iyi Uwa. He raised it carefully with the hoe and threw it to the surface. Some women ran away in fear when it was thrown, but they soon returned, and everyone was gazing at the rag from a reasonable distance. Okagwe emerged, and without saying a word or even looking at the spectators,
This is the book Things Fall Apart.
he went to his goatskin bag, took out 2 leaves, and began to chew them. When he had swallowed them, he took up the rag with left hand and began to untie it. And then the smooth, shiny pebble fell out. He picked it up. "Is this yours?" he asked Ezinma. "Yes," she replied. All the women shouted with joy, because Ekwefi's troubles were at last ended. All this had happened more than a year ago, and Ezinma had not been ill since. And then suddenly she had begun to shiver in the night. Ekwefi brought her to the fireplace, spread her mat on the floor, and built a fire. But she had got worse and worse. As she knelt by her, feeling with her palm the wet, burning forehead, she prayed 1,000 times. Although her husband's wives were saying that it was nothing more than Iba, she did not hear them. Okonkwo returned from the bush, carrying on his left shoulder a large bundle of grasses and leaves, roots and barks of medicinal trees and shrubs. He went into Ekwefi's hut, put down his load, and sat down. "Get me a pot," he said, "and leave the child alone." Ekwefi went to bring the pot, and Okonkwo selected the best from his bundle, in their due proportions, and cut them up.
Good morning, Ponce.
He put them in the pot, and Ekwefi poured in some water. "Is that enough?" she asked, when she had poured in about half of the water in the bowl. "A little more. I said a little. Are you deaf?" Okonkwo roared at her.
Sakafet.
She set the pot on the fire, and Okonkwo took up his machete to return to his obi. "You must watch the pot carefully," he said as he went, "and don't allow it to boil over. If it does, its power will be gone." He went away to his hut, and Ekwefi began to tend the medicine pot, almost as if it was itself a sick child. Her eyes went constantly from Ezinma to the boiling pot, and back to Ezinma. Okonkwo returned when he felt the medicine had cooked long enough. He looked it over and said it was done. "Bring me a low stool for Ezinma," he said, "and a thick mat." He took down the pot from the fire and placed it in front of the stool. He then roused Ezinma and placed her on the stool, astride the steaming pot. The thick mat was thrown over both. Ezinma struggled to escape from the choking and overpowering steam, but she was held down. She started to cry. When the mat was at last removed, she was drenched in perspiration. Ekwefi mopped her with a piece of cloth, and she lay down on a dry mat and was soon asleep.
All right, so we're going to do one more chapter, and then we're going to close it out. Whew, this narrator, he's a drag to listen to. And this is like 20 minutes, and then we'll be back to our regular business.
Chapter 10. Large crowds began to gather on the village Ilo as soon as the edge had worn off the sun's heat, and it was no longer painful on the body. Most communal ceremonies took place at that time of the day, so that even when it was said that a ceremony would begin after the midday meal, everyone understood that it would begin a long time later, when the sun's heat had softened. It was clear from the way the crowd stood or sat that the ceremony was for men. There were many women, but they looked on from the fringe like outsiders. The titled men and elders sat on their stools, waiting for the trials to begin. In front of them was a row of stools on which nobody sat. There were 9 of them. 2 little groups of people stood at a respectable distance beyond the stools. They faced the elders. There were 3 men in one group, and 3 men and 1 woman in the other. The woman was Umbafo, and the 3 men with her were her brothers. In the other group were her husband, Uzowulu, and his relatives. Umbafo and her brothers were as still as statues into whose faces the artist has molded defiance. Uzowulu and his relative, on the other hand, were whispering together. It looked like whispering, but they were really talking at the top of their voices. Everybody in the crowd was talking. It was like the market. From a distance, the noise was a deep rumble carried by the wind.
Good morning, Bernie.
An iron gong sounded, setting up a wave of expectation in the crowd. Everyone looked in the direction of the Egwugu house.
Thank you.
Gom, 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 went the gong, and a powerful flute blew a high-pitched blast. Then came the voices of the Egwugu, guttural and awesome. The wave struck the women and children, and there was a backward stampede, but it was momentary. They were already far enough where they stood, and there was room for running away if any of the Egwugu should go towards them. The drum sounded again, and the flute blew. The Egwugu house was now a pandemonium of quavering voices. Aru oyim de 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 filled the air as the spirits of the ancestors, just emerged from the earth, greeted themselves in their esoteric language. The Egwugu house into which they emerged faced the forest, away from the crowd, who saw only its back with the many-colored patterns and drawings done by specially chosen women at regular intervals. These women never saw the inside of the hut. No woman ever did. They scrubbed and painted the outside walls under the supervision of men. If they imagined what was inside, they kept their imagination to themselves. No woman ever asked questions about the most powerful and the most secret cult in the clan. Aru oyim de 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 flew around the dark, closed hut like tongues of fire. The ancestral spirits of the clan were abroad. The metal gong beat continuously now, and the flute, shrill and powerful, floated on the chaos. And then the Egwugu appeared. The women and children sent up a great shout and took to their heels. It was instinctive. A woman fled as soon as an Egwugu came in sight. And when, as on that day, 9 of the greatest masked spirits in the clan came out together, it was a terrifying spectacle. Even Umbafo took to her heels and had to be restrained by her brothers. Each of the 9 Egwugu represented a village of the clan. Their leader was called Evil Forest. Smoke poured out of his head. The 9 villages of Umwofia had grown out of the 9 sons of the first father of the clan. Evil Forest represented the village of Umweru, or the children of Eru, who was the eldest of the 9 sons. Umwofia Kwenu, shouted the leading Egwugu, pushing the air with his raffia arms. The elders of the clan replied, Ya! Umwofia Kwenu! Ya! Umwofia Kwenu! Ya! Evil Forest then thrust the pointed end of his rattling staff into the earth, and it began to shake and rattle, like something agitating with a metallic life. He took the first of the empty stools, and the 8 other Egwugu began to sit in order of seniority after him. Okonkwo's wives, and perhaps other women as well, might have noticed that the second Egwugu had the springy walk of Okonkwo, And they might also have noticed that Okonkwo was not among the titled men and elders who sat behind the row of Egwugu. But if they thought these things, they kept them within themselves. The Egwugu, with a springy walk, was one of the dead fathers of the clan. He looked terrible with his smoked raffia body, a huge wooden face painted white, except for the round, hollow eyes and the charred teeth that were as big as a man's fingers. On his head were two powerful horns. When all the Egwugu had sat down and the sound of the many tiny bells and rattles on their bodies had subsided, Evil Forest addressed the two groups of people facing them. "Uzowulu's body, I salute you," he said. Spirits always addressed humans as bodies. Uzowulu bent down and touched the earth with his right hand as a sign of submission. "Our father, my hand has touched the ground," he said. "Uzowulu's body, do you know me?" asked the spirit. "How can I know you, father? You are beyond our knowledge." Evil Forest then turned to the other group and addressed the eldest of the three brothers. "The body of Odukwe, I greet you," he said. And Odukwe bent down and touched the earth. The hearing then began. Uzowulu stepped forward and presented his case. "That woman standing there is my wife, Mbafo. I married her with my money and my yams. I do not owe my in-laws anything. I owe them no yams. I owe them no cocoa yams. One morning, 3 of them came to my house, beat me up, and took my wife and children away. This happened in the rainy season. I have waited in vain for my wife to return. At last, I went to my in-laws and said to them, 'You have taken back your sister. I did not send her away. You yourselves took her. The law of the clan is that you should return her bride price.' But my wife's brothers said they had nothing to tell me. So I have brought the matter to the fathers of the clan. My case is finished. I salute you." "Your words are good," said the leader of the Gugu. "Let us hear Odukwe. His words may also be good." Odukwe was short and thick-set. He stepped forward, saluted the spirits, and began his story. "My in-law has told you that we went to his house, beat him up, and took our sister and her children away. All that is true. He told you that he came to take back her bride price, and we refused to give it him. That also is true. My in-law, Uzowulu, is a beast. My sister lived with him for 9 years. During those years, no single day passed in the sky without his beating the woman. We have tried to settle their quarrels, time without number, and on each occasion, Uzowulu was guilty." "It is a lie," Uzowulu shouted. 2 years ago, continued Odukwe, when she was pregnant, he beat her until she miscarried. "It is a lie. She miscarried after she had gone to sleep with her lover." "Uzowulu's body, I salute you," said Evil Forest, silencing him. "What kind of lover sleeps with a pregnant woman?" There was a loud murmur of approbation from the crowd. Odukwe continued. "Last year, when my sister was recovering from an illness, he beat her again, so that if the neighbors had not gone in to save her, she would have been killed. We heard of it, and did as you have been told. The law of Umwofia is that if a woman runs away from her husband, her bride price is returned. But in this case, she ran away to save her life. Her 2 children belong to Uzowulu. We do not dispute it, but they are too young to leave their mother. If, in the other hand, Uzowulu should recover from his madness and come in the proper way to beg his wife to return, she will do so, on the understanding that if he ever beats her again, we shall cut off his genitals for him."
Ha!
The crowd roared with laughter. Evil Forest rose to his feet, and order was immediately restored. A steady cloud of smoke rose from his head. He sat down again and called 2 witnesses. They were both Uzowulu's neighbors, and they agreed about the beating. Evil Forest then stood up, pulled out his staff, and thrust it into the earth again. He ran a few steps in the direction of the women. They all fled in terror, only to return to their places almost immediately. The 9 Egwugu then went away to consult together in their house. They were silent for a long time. Then the metal gong sounded, and the flute was blown. The Egwugu had emerged once again from their underground home. They saluted one another, and then reappeared on the Elo. Umwolfiaquenu, roared Evil Forest, facing the elders and grandees of the clan. Yah! Replied the thunderous crowd. Then silence descended from the sky and swallowed the noise. Evil Forest began to speak, and all the while he spoke, everyone was silent. The 8 other Egwugu were as still as statues. We have heard both sides of the case, said Evil Forest. Our duty is not to blame this man or to praise that, but to settle the dispute. He turned to Uzowulu's group and allowed a short pause. Uzowulu's body, I salute you, he said. Our father, my hand has touched the ground, replied Uzowulu, touching the earth. Uzowulu's body, do you know me? How can I know you, father? You are beyond our knowledge, Uzowulu replied. I am Evil Forest. I kill a man on the day that his life is sweetest to him. That is true, replied Uzowulu. Go to your in-laws with a pot of wine and beg your wife to return to you. It is not bravery when a man fights with a woman. He turned to Odukwe and allowed a brief pause. Odukwe's body, I greet you, he said. My hand is on the ground, replied Odukwe. Do you know me? No man can know you, replied Odukwe. I am Evil Forest. I am dry meat that fills the mouth. I am fire that burns without faggots. If your in-law brings wine to you, let your sister go with him. I salute you. He pulled his staff from the hard earth and thrust it back. Umwofiaquenu, he roared, and the crowd answered. I don't know why such a trifle should come before the Egwugu, said one elder to another. Don't you know what kind of man Uzowulu is? He will not listen to any other decision, replied the other. As they spoke, 2 other groups of people had replaced the first before the Egwugu, and a great land case began.
All right. That's it for today, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the continuing chapters. We're halfway through the book, thank God, because I can't deal with his voice. It's so sleepy. It's putting me to sleep. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying it. Nonetheless, it's a lot of African spirituality going on in this thing. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, don't forget, we do Half of a Yellow Sun. That is my favorite book out of these 2 so far. And I'll see y'all in these streets. Hasta la pasta.